Welcome in everybody to part 2 of the week 13 preview. We got 6 games to go over today. And it's week 13. I mentioned this either to you in the last preview or to Dad in the recap, where across my 5 or 6 leagues I have, it seems like you have a couple top heavy teams, and then like teams like 3 to 9 or 10 are all kind of right there, still in it, still could be in the playoffs, out of the playoffs. So I feel like these 2 weeks are pretty important to people. I think I heard like the CBS podcast or one of the many podcasts I listen to mention that as well. Is that how it is in your other leagues, Brian, where it's just very muddled in the middle?
Kind of. I feel like our dynasty team or dynasty league is kind of pulling away a little bit, but I mean there is only 2 weeks left. Honestly, like I'm doing so well in my PPR league, I kind of don't know what the middle is doing because I'm just dominating. I'm already locked in a bye week and everything like that. That's not exactly true, but it's extremely difficult for me to lose my bye week. I need someone to outscore me by like 180 points and me to lose both matchups this weekend next, which is not going to happen probably. But yeah, it does kind of seem like that. It's kind of what's happening in general in our 2 leagues that we play together.
Yeah, it's it just feels like by this time it's like there's like 1 or 2 playoff spots up for grabs, and like 4 of the 6 teams or whatever have clinched, whereas I think, like I said, in our redraft the league, you're the only one that's at least by how many points or weeks are left have clinched. I think a couple other teams have essentially clinched, but kind of interesting. It kind of fits perfectly. Just I mean, if you look at the standings in the NFL, it's like a bunch of middling teams, 5 and 6, 6 and 5 type of records. So kind of matches up there. But anyways, we're going to get into it with our first game here, previewing the Dolphins at the Commanders. Is this, Brian, going to be a bonanza type game where it's like a over-under, going to hit over like 50, 60 points?
I don't know about that necessarily. Like, I don't know if I have enough confidence that the Washington Commanders are going to like necessarily score a bunch. If they want to stay in the game, obviously they're going to have to, but I guess it could be another 50 to 20 game or something. Or no, that was 70 to 20, huh?
Yeah.
We'll give the Commanders defense a little credit and just say 50 to 20. I'm not necessarily expecting a shootout here.
Yeah. I was a little surprised. I just looked it up now. Commanders are 20th in points per game. I thought they'd be at least in the top half. Just kind of feels that way at least, but they're 20th at 20.5. Miami's second at 30.8. So
20 or less in 3 out of the last 4 games, and they weren't necessarily playing like crazy good defenses. I mean, not bad. Yeah. I mean, one was a Cowboys, so. But yeah, I mean, they haven't really been scoring that much.
Yeah. On the Dolphin side, you're starting all your Dolphins. What are you doing with Achane, who I think is playing? So obviously Hill, Tua for the most part, unless you have, like, to me, he's like right. Yeah, to me, he's like right after like Stroud. So we talked about Stroud's in the top 5 and like, oh no, Tua's against Commanders ahead of Stroud. So yeah, you got to start Tua against the Commanders.
Yeah, start everyone against the Commanders.
Yeah, and then Hill, Waddle, and Mostert are starting. What are you doing with Achane? You throwing him in there, or are you worried about what you saw last time you threw him in there?
Yeah, definitely like a little gun shy because of that. But like, honestly, I think if they're throwing him out there, given the bye weeks and all that stuff, like you don't. Hopefully, he's not your running back too. And kind of like what we said before, I think was like you've got this far without him. He's still like crazy, like highly ranked in general, just because of like you see what like his ceiling is. He basically has like the Christian McCaffrey ceiling almost, like but without necessarily like the workload required. So I don't know. I think you could do worse than starting him. I get people aren't. There's gonna be people shying away from him, but I think he's definitely startable.
Yeah, and it's good that the Thursday night game was such a huge fantasy game for everyone. Like you could realistically be down 70 points if you played like a Geno Metcalf stack or Dak CD Lamb stack. I think I saw someone post somewhere where they're playing against Dak, CD Lamb, Metcalf, and Ferguson. They're down 115 points after the Thursday night game. So if you're in that situation, throw HN out there because he could give you 40 points. Probably not going to happen, but you never know. So that's kind of where I'm at with him.
Yeah.
Even 20
one
points.
of my coworkers in his league. What's that?
I was going to say even 20 points would be nice from someone like HN.
Oh yeah. No, but I was just gonna say real quick, like I have a coworker who they traded Devontae Adams for Ferguson because they lost Mark Andrews, I think, a few weeks ago, and they were just kind of like desperate to make the playoffs. And it's like, oh well, Ferguson's like hooked you up this week. I'm just thinking about like special stuff that happened after you said like that. Someone started against all those guys. Anyways, back to the Dolphins.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. Everyone else is a start. Washington side, like I think I kind of like Howell this week. Again, he's been like QB4 all year long, can put up points whether it means they win or not, and he could be in a possible shootout. So like if you're talking about like Howell versus, like Justin Herbert, I'm not going to completely blame. I'd probably still go Herbert, but I'm not going to completely blame you if you go Howell or. How even over like a Brock Purdy against the Eagles. I don't know. Like I'm not gonna completely blame you. I'd probably still go Purdy, but I think he's kind of in like that potential range where he could even in garbage time get a bunch of points. So I don't think he's gonna give you like a really bad week, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I mean, I'm sure he's basically thrown for 300 yards most games, or 2 out of 3 games. The touchdowns are a little spotty between basically 1 and 4 kind of a thing, like but he has ran in a couple of touchdowns the last few weeks too, so he does have that nice little rushing floor or the rushing floor possibility. Like he's not gonna necessarily give you a bunch of points on the ground, but he'll give you a couple probably, and with the possibility for a touchdown. I'm not afraid of how necessarily. It's just always so worrisome, someone who gets sacked that much, like it's just scary.
That just means he has to throw more. If he gets sacked, probably going to not be running it after that. So it's part of the reason I think why he's like leading the NFL in passing yards. I think he's still doing that. I know he was a couple weeks ago. Brian Robinson, I think this week is a start. The dude's RB5 still this year. I know he had a hot start, but he's also still doing well. It's not just a hot start that puts you at RB5. It means he's been pretty good over the last basically all year. He could give you a 7-point week, but he can give you, a 15-point week, I think, pretty easily with a touchdown. So, especially if Gibson's out, I think I like Brian Robinson even more to get some catches as well. Where are you at with B-Rob?
I was going to say Gibson came back last week, and I don't think he has an injury, so he's going to be out there again.
Did he come back last week?
Yeah, he played last week. He played almost half the snaps, too.
23rd was last week.
23rd. He played against Dallas last week. What do you mean 23rd?
Oh, because Thanksgiving was their last game, right?
Oh, the day. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I was like the 23rd. That seems like, but yeah, it's because it was Thanksgiving, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I still think I like Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I think honestly, you could probably flex Gibson this week too, given if you think the Miami offense is going to put up points on Washington, which why wouldn't you think that necessarily? It's like Gibson tends to play more in catch up sort of games. Like he might have a 6 or 7 targets or something this week. The nice thing is like they've kind of involved Brian Robinson with that a little bit too, a lot more than we've seen in the past. So yeah, like obviously Gibson missed a little bit there, so that's why he was kind of like a little bit more involved. But I mean, they still threw it to him 3 times last week, Brian Robinson. So I'd say you could probably start both of them.
Yep. Yeah, that's not a bad shout there. And then the wide receivers, it's obviously McLaurin you're starting, and I don't think it's a terrible idea. Like if you're chasing a little bit of upside, like throwing in Samuel or even Dotson, just because again, is this a shootout? They could catch a touchdown. Like if you're talking about like him and you need to chase points, like Samuel versus like I don't know Amari Cooper or Drake London, like yeah, I'll throw in Samuel, like just because I think there's some potential upside of like oh he caught 2 touchdowns, So, but definitely not must starts at all. They're probably outside the wide receiver 3 range. And then Logan Thomas is Logan Thomas. He's your tight end. Feel fine starting him. There's no reason not to start him or freak out, Anything on those pass catchers you want to mention?
No, I think I still like Dotson better than Samuel because he's playing more in general. Like Samuel obviously had a bunch of targets last week and stuff, but I mean, don't go point pacing necessarily to try and get those points, because Samuel will let you down in that case. But if you're starting them as a flex, like you could do worse, definitely. But I like Dotson over Samuel in general if I had both.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Panthers Bucs is the next game. I know there's I actually just made a video about it, about like the week after teams fire their head coach. We hear about it all the time. They're going to be motivated. And I think this situation, the team did not want Frank Wright fired. So I don't give them the Panthers that bump of like, oh, we're happy the coach is gone. Is there any must start on the Panthers for Hugh? Like any? Because I don't even think Adam Thielen's going to start. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, it just depends on like when we say must start, what exactly do we mean? Like I think again, given bye weeks and everything, like obviously Adam Thielen had like a terrible game last week. I'm sure he single-handedly like lost people the weeks, or like the week in general by getting, what was it, 1 catch for 2 yards? Is that what it was? Yeah. So I mean that's pretty bad, But look at the couple of weeks beforehand. I don't know. Does Tennessee have like a really good corner that I don't know or something? Like
not really.
They were definitely putting some pressure on Bryce Young. Because I watched a little bit of that game. So I don't know. I look for Adam Thielen to like bounce back this week, at least like not necessarily to like what he was when he was really good at kind of like the early first part of the season, but I think he probably will have a decent floor of 8 half PPR points. And we've seen what the ceiling is kind of. So I'm probably throwing out Adam Thielen. Why not?
Yeah, my only concern is so the offensive coordinator who's calling plays now, he took over for a few weeks in the middle of the season, and that was like before last week. It was like weeks like 7 through 10 or something, and those were the 3 games that kind of started like this downward slide of Adam Thielen, where he just didn't have. He had like 3. He had 1 good game and then like okay game and then 2 bad games. And it was by far the 3 worst games of his season besides like week 1. So that I don't know if they're going to go back to that style or they're not just feeding Thielen, but I kind of agree with you with this week. You're probably still going to start him. The running backs are interesting with like Chuba Hubbard and who had a good game last week, by the way. But I just don't know what they're going to do with this. They got rid of the running backs coach, obviously the head coach. Like I don't know what they're going to do. Like if they're going to feed Sanders more, if they're going to feed Chuba more, definitely roster both of them. But I don't want to start them if I can. If I had to choose, I'd choose Chuba Hubbard though. I had 5 catches last week.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It does seem like Miles Sanders is like playing more, but he still hasn't taken back the lead of the backfield. So yeah, Chuba is definitely the start over Sanders, but both are worth rostering. Like you said, like I'm not feeling great about starting either one necessarily, but I think you can start Chuba as a low end running back too.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say about Adam Thielen real quick is it seemed like he was still decently involved from weeks. It was 8 through 10, I think, or even 8 through 11 before last week. He was still getting an average of 8. Like, I mean, he has 3 games with 10 or more targets. It's 10 or 11 targets in 3 out of those 4 games. He just didn't get a touchdown. And if you look back, like from weeks 2 to 6, he basically had a touchdown every game. That was kind of like sealing the deal on the week to make it like really good. Not that a touchdown would have even put him over 20 in those weeks, but it would have put him close to it. So, yeah, I think, yeah, you're going like start Adam Thielen. But yeah, start Chuba, low end number 2. Sanders, keep him on the bench. Desperation flex, but that's real desperate. Like he's gonna get at least 10 carries basically, and that's something. It just depends on how desperate you are given the bye.
Yeah. Bucs side, we talked a lot about Baker already. For whatever reason, whether it's they're good or everyone runs on them, the Panthers are like the best team against quarterbacks. Or they're right there, top 3, I think 4 or 5, whatever, top 4th best. Is it because they're good? Run on them. Other situations, I don't know. I don't know. If you don't buy into it, then Baker's a good start. Revenge game, by the way. They let him go last year. Maybe he wants to prove it to him a little bit. Like this is what you're missing. But the only 2 quarterbacks to have good games are Goff and Tua against the Panthers. Everyone else has had 17 or less. That includes Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott. Those are kind of the notable names there. Derek Carr. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm fine with like Baker as a streamer, if you don't have much else. Like I'm not going to run out there and pick up. Like I'm not going to start I'll start Baker over Derek Carr. That's what especially if Olave's out. I'll start Baker obviously over like Kenny Pickett, Matthew Stafford, but I don't know. Just keep that in mind with the Panthers. I don't know if it's true or not. So, that being said, Rachaad White is a smash play. Mike Evans is always a start. And because of what we just said, I don't think I want to start Godwin this week. He's been bad. Like, he hasn't had more than 7.5 half PPR points in 4 straight weeks. Like, he's been really bad. So, where are you at with Godwin? Because I know you like Godwin a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, definitely some bias there for sure. Yeah, I think he's basically like Deontay Johnson. I think you said that either in the last video or earlier in this video. It's like he's kind of like Deontay Johnson. I'd say Baker is a better quarterback, though, than Kenny Pickett. But it's basically they're getting targeted, not like crazy. Like he basically has exactly 6 or 7 targets in all 5 of his last games. And that's something, but he's just not doing anything with it. There's no touchdowns to be had. He only has 1 on the season. I don't think that he's like a must start, but I don't know. I'm definitely in a league or two where I more or less have to start him given the bye weeks and everything.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Um, yeah, it's just tough. Like, if you're in a spot where like Godwin's like your flex in a wide receiver 3 league, I'm fine with it. But if you were relying on him as like your wide receiver 2 or something, then yeah, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah, I'm starting Christian Watson at Kansas City over Godwin this week if Jaden Reed misses. How about that?
That's fair. Like Pickens over Godwin or versus Godwin, what would you do there?
I don't know.
Tough one.
Steelers, man. I'll probably start Godwin.
Amari Cooper with PJ Walker or Godwin?
I think, man, that's tough too because we know Amari Cooper is the guy there. But, Cleveland's winning through their defense if they're winning at all kind of a thing. So, no, I'm going to go with Amari Cooper.
Yeah, and we'll get to that game, but Cooper had 4 for 108, 2 for 22, 6 for 89 with PJ Walker, at least 8 targets in all 3 of those games. So, and if it's Flacco, I love Amari Cooper. But anyways, we'll get to that game. And Kate Otten, I think, is a fine tight end play. Like if he's your tight end, he's, again, say it all the time, I'm fine with he's in that Logan Thomas, even like a Gerald Everett kind of range to me. So,
4 for 40.
Yep, 4 for 40. Hope he gets a touchdown, which he almost had last week. He got tackled at the 1. So, yeah.
Was that him or was that a different tight end?
I thought it was him. Maybe it was a different tight end.
I thought it ended up being someone else. That's not important. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it was him, but I know.
I thought it was Payne Durham. Is who I thought it was.
Maybe. I know Mike Evans also got tackled at the 1 at the very beginning as well. They've had that a lot with Baker and the Bucs.
Yeah.
The 49ers and Eagles. I wish this game was able to be flexed to the Monday night game, which is Bengals Jaguars. But anyways, 49ers, Eagles. This is going to be an easy one. I'm starting off 49ers and I'm starting all the Eagles. Is there anything?
Yeah, pretty much. Goddard is limited still. God, I forgot. I'm not put the E when I'm typing in his last name.
I'm not starting.
He is practicing today.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess he's the one I would shy away from is Goddard. I don't know. I don't want to. It's weird. He broke his arm. How's he already back? What the hell? What do they have in the NFL that we don't have? You can heal an arm in 2 weeks.
Nanobots. It's been 3 because there was a bye week.
Okay,
but still, I mean, and if you think about it's kind of been 4 weeks since he played in the sense, he last played in week 9 and now it's 13. So kind of, but it's still I don't know. It's still kind of crazy to think about 4 weeks after fracturing your arm. It was probably a hairline fracture. And they just squirted that magic gel in there or something.
Yeah.
Make it all heal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. If he's gonna play, I'd probably still bench him. But if you throw him out there, I don't really care because 40% of Goddard is probably better than most tight ends you're gonna be starting anyway. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It just really depends on who you're starting. I'll start him over Logan Thomas and Kate Otten, the two guys we were just talking about. Not over Juwan Johnson if everyone misses, though. That I think I draw the line there.
Yeah. Any worry about Swift against the 49ers defense? I mean, he's still going to be started, but are you worried about him at all?
No, I don't think so because, Swift is one of those guys, like, he basically, like, he needs one play to, like, break off, and, like, that's kind of what he did even when he was with Detroit, So I still feel good about starting Swift. Temper your expectations a little bit, but what else are you going to do with 6 teams on a bye?
Yeah, exactly. So it's an easy game. We don't have to spend much time. Who do you think wins? 49ers at Eagles.
Philly. They're going to make another last quarter surge to win again for the third week in a row.
I was a little surprised that the 49ers were favored on the road. I mean, not super surprised, but still, like, I still think it's, like, a little disrespectful. I picked the 49ers, but I do think these are the best teams, maybe in the NFL, like the 2 best teams in the NFL, So,
yeah,
it'll be fun. Hopefully it's a fun game. Browns Rams is the next one. The Browns, I don't know who they're starting. I guess I kind of half looked that up while we're talking. I don't think it's going to be DTR though. And I think they're pretty beat up on defense as well. Like Myles Garrett being the headliner, but one of their safeties is out, I believe. Just kind of looking at it, Myles Garrett hasn't practiced. It says not injury related. This is weird. It says not injury related rest, shoulder. So is it injury related or what? Like,
no, he's just resting his shoulder.
I guess he couldn't lift it up in that game, like to high five people. So
yeah.
And then same thing with Njoku, who says that. Anyways, I think their defense is a little beat up. So keep that in mind if you're starting their defenses. I'm probably still going to do it, but because the Rams don't scare me too much. But Cooper, we've already mentioned, like, if it's DTR, I think I'm benching Cooper. If it's anyone else, I'm starting Cooper. Are you there with me?
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
I heard what you said. No, I'm starting Cooper. I think I'm starting him with anybody, basically. Like, obviously, like, it's not going to be as much fun if DTR starts, but I don't know. He can still have a decent game, I think. Like you said, the Rams don't really scare me too much.
Yeah, I mean, he still did get 14 targets over the last 2 weeks of DTR, but again, 2 catches, 4 catches. I want to avoid him with. I don't think DTR is going to play anyway, so he had a pretty bad hit. Jerome Ford, I think we're starting.
Yep.
He's just been solid this year, like good pickup. Kareem Hunt, if you have to, it's not terrible. He's kind of in that flex range for me. Still, I believe, getting touches. Just double checking what he did last week.
Yeah, nothing to. You can read the stat line, but I was just going to say nothing to write home about for sure.
Yeah, only 7 carries. That's a little concerning. 26% of the snaps. What happened?
I'm not really sure. I'm trying to remember that game.
Oh, he is on the injury report with a groin. So
maybe
did not practice and limited. I don't know if that affected him last week, but that's enough for me to shy away from him if he's going to be limited, all unquestionable. Yeah, I mean, if Amari Cooper got hurt too, he's limited. Browns need to fix their damn injury report. Everyone's not injury related, and then they list an injury. It's weird. If Cooper doesn't play, any interest in Elijah Moore?
Yeah, as a number 3 receiver, basically. Like, I don't know. Like, what I think he has a decent ceiling if Cooper doesn't play. But I don't know. Just the lack of competition will lead to better production from him, most likely. Mm-hmm. But he has been getting decent targets the last few weeks.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of go ahead.
First 3 weeks when Joe Flacco was a Jet last year, Elijah Moore had 7, 5, and 9 targets. So didn't have huge fantasy games with them, but there's that. Joe Flacco was also throwing like 60 times a game, so I don't know. Maybe there's some familiarity and stuff like that.
That's what I was going to say. That's a good pull that they did play together last year. So, and especially if Cooper's out, that does make more interesting to me.
Yeah, it's not terrible. He's in that again. He's in like that Boyd, A.T. Perry, Curtis Samuel, Dotson range, and it's like, that could be a tiebreaker. So, and then Njoku, I'm throwing out there. He's just been like a target hog. So if he's your tight end, start him.
Yep.
Anything else from the Browns, or onto the kind of interesting team here, the Rams? Not starting Stafford, even though he had his best game. Kyron Williams, you have to start. And where are you at with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua is the big question here.
Bad call by me. I still think it was the right call last week, where it's like, how are you going to not start Cooper Kupp? Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's why I said last week. And it was like, well, you probably aren't too happy that you did start Cooper Kupp last week, but I still feel the same about him this week, where it's like, I don't know, like he's obviously not playing at full health. They did say he practiced fully on Wednesday, and that's the last update I see. So I assume that means yesterday and today he will. So I think I'm still throwing him out there. I mean, he's got a lot of like name cachet for sure. Like we've seen what the guy can do. Obviously, like Puka has been playing better, but he's been a little inconsistent himself. These last 6 weeks or so, like a couple of good games in there, and not necessarily killing you, but not helping you. I mean, well, I guess let's be honest, he's been killing you. Like
Cooper Kupp?
No, well, I was talking about Puka.
Yeah.
I think you're still starting both of them is kind of the gist of it. A little more faith in Puka than Kupp, but I think they're pretty close in the rankings as number 2 receivers.
Man, Cooper Kupp is 5 straight games of less than 6 half PPR points. Ooh, that is tough. But I generally agree with you. I'll bump him down a little bit to like in 2 wide receiver leagues. I think there's a debate. Like I might lean guys like Sutton, Garrett Wilson over Cooper Kupp right now. Like just until I see something, especially if I need a win.
Garrett Wilson, definitely. Sutton is a lot closer, I would say.
If I need to win this week and I can't survive a 5-point game from Cooper Kupp against a tough defense, if they're all healthy, I might lean Sutton. But I get what you mean. Like it's really tough. So I generally agree with you, though. I'm probably how I play, just still throwing him out there. Any interest in Tyler Higbee after catching 2 touchdowns?
No, that was his one good game. This year. And if you didn't start him last week, you missed it. So sorry. No.
Yep.
If everyone's like, especially with Kupp practicing in full, Kyron Williams is back, even though he was back last week also. And that's when Higbee did his thing. But it's like, that's not reliable. It's like fine as a streaming tight end this week, depending on who you lost or who's on a bye. But I don't know, like, fire up Gerald Everett before Tyler Higbee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. So yeah, we'll move on from that game, and we got 2 more games for you. I think this is the Sunday night game, the Chiefs-Packers. Chiefs are always pretty easy. It's obviously Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco. We're still starting, even though Pacheco can definitely give you disappointing numbers if he doesn't catch or score a touchdown, but I think he had 2 last week. So you're definitely happy there. It's just you could get a 15 carry, 80-yard performance and like, oh, he ran well, he looked good, but he gave me 8 points. Like that's just the fact of Pacheco. But I'm still starting him.
Yeah, he's been working in the receiving game a bit this year, a lot more than what we saw before. That we haven't seen a ton of Jerick McKinnon. Like he's been out there for sure, but like it's like he's averaging probably 3 targets a game. ish. Like I haven't really thought to see if that corresponds with any injuries or anything like that. But yeah, I think he's a must start. Pacheco is, given the offense and stuff, and the safe floor.
Yeah, he's one of those where like he can catch, and he has been getting multiple catches in majority of games, but also at the same time, it's not a part of their offense to where like
they're not.
You're not
looking
going to be
for it.
surprised. Yeah, you're not going to be. They're not game plan it. They're not going to be. It's not McCaffrey, Eckler. These guys where you were not going to be surprised if he gets a one target. So but yeah, he's definitely a must start. Top 12 running back this year so far. And Rashid Rice is the only other one where I'm kind of interested in him, and I think this week in a 3 wide receiver set, I'm throwing him out there over guys like I think I'd start him over guys like Downs, Marquise Brown, Pickens, Godwin, Deontay. I think I'm starting Rashid Rice over those guys because hopefully they get him more involved. Any interest in him?
Yeah, no, I don't mind that call. His snap share is definitely, it's basically been right around 60% or, between 60 and 70% for the last 5 games. He's drawing targets, not like crazy amounts like he did. I mean, 10 isn't a crazy amount, but it's a crazy amount for anyone on the Chiefs besides Kelsey. So he had 10 targets last week. That's the first time he's like kind of come close to that. His next highest for the entire year was 7. So it's good to see they're using him more. I don't mind starting him this week, given who his quarterback is and the team he plays on and stuff like that. Like, it'll be kind of interesting to see how the Chiefs attack the Packers, like, because I know they're not necessarily the best against the run. Mm-hmm. So it could just be like a huge Pacheco game, and Rice might only have 5 targets, because they don't really need him to do anything or do as much. So it's risky for sure, but I like the call for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is important to note that I think it was Kadarius Toney, Mecole Hardman, and Justin Ross, I believe, were all out last week. Mecole Hardman's on IR, so he'll miss this week. Toney, I think, is coming back, so that could have been part of the reason why Rashid Rice had so many targets, but I'm still going to start him for sure. And I think they're at the point in the season where they know they need to kind of get this working with someone else besides Kelsey. So it's like, they need to make sure they can rely on him in the playoffs, basically. So I don't know. That could just be narrative. It doesn't come to fruition. Packers, always tough with the receiver. I'm just thinking about the receivers. Jordan Love, you should know how we feel about him, but at this point, he is in that. He's in that. To me, he's more in that. He's not so much in the Russell, Kyler, Goff range. He's in the Baker, Minshew range to me, and I'm fine with starting him over those guys because he's been playing better. We got to admit that. Chiefs are tough. They just are. They're top 5 against quarterbacks, and it feels like this is a game they can kind of dominate Love a little bit. But I'll lean Love over Baker and Minshew and Carr. I don't know if you're there with me. I forget. I'm pretty sure you answered.
No. Yeah, I had Love at the end of all those guys, except for I had definitely had Carr over him if Olave plays, but yeah, Love was at the bottom. I like it just given the matchup and everything. It's just going to be too tough. Yeah.
So then, are you going as far as Pickett, Stafford over Love?
No, I'll never start Kenny Pickett. What the hell are you talking about? There's no. Stafford's. I don't think so because he doesn't have much of better matchup, and we just talked about that game, the receivers and stuff. So I don't know what to do there. It's tough. If it's between Love and Stafford, it's man, you better trade. You better trade for somebody.
Yeah, agreed. And so let me just double check. So their injury report with these, obviously AJ Dillon, I think this. Right? Yeah, Aaron Jones is out. So I think A.J. Dillon, as much as I hate it, is a start this week with 6 teams on bye. Tough matchup, but you know you're going to get 15 carries. Um, hopefully. I don't think the Chiefs are actually super good against running backs necessarily.
No, you know what? I'm trying to remember who they played. Who did they play a couple of weeks ago? And it was like, dude, they're running all over the Chiefs, and it was kind of like, but it seemed like they kept getting away from it. I'm trying to pull up their log. It was Philly when they were playing that game. Like, it didn't seem like Philly wasn't able to stop Pacheco for the first 3 quarters, and it was kind of like, it was kind of like, dude, just run the ball. Like they were totally in control of that game. The Chiefs were until that 4th quarter. Well, I guess halfway through the 3rd quarter. But anyways,
Jacobs,
I don't know AJ Dillon.
Jacobs last week 20 for 110 as well against the Chiefs. So I know he had a big run, but I think Dillon's is starting. So there's receivers. I mean, it's looking like Jaden Reed was limited, so he's questionable. So let's just say Jaden Reed's in there. Who are you starting out of Dobbs, Watson, Reed?
Yeah, that's real tough. If they're all in there, it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, if you have all 3 of those guys on your team, like, again, trade some of them. Like, it's like I don't know who to pick. Like, I think I would order it as, I think I'm still putting Watson first, Jaden Reed second now, and then Dobbs third is how I would put it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I think I might lean Reed first. Just think we gotta also think who's gonna see L'Jarius Sneed this game, and my guess would be Watson.
Yeah.
My guess. I don't know for sure, but that's my guess. So for that reason, I'm probably gonna go Jaden Reed. But yeah, it's a little tough with all 3 of them starting in a tough matchup. I kind of want to avoid all 3 if I can, but if Reed's out, I'm okay with Dobbs too, just because, again, I think L'Jarius Sneed's going to be on Watson. So, and if Reed's out, I'm still fine with throwing Watson out there and hoping he gets a big play. So, and
if you're in tight end hell, stash Tucker Craft to see if, the guy played 96% of the snaps last week. He only had 2 catches, but one of them was a touchdown. I'm not by any means saying start him, but Luke Musgrave went on IR last week, and Kraft jumped up to use their tight ends there. Like, I think he becomes more interesting if Reed's not there. I'm definitely still not starting him, but could be an interesting guy in the next week or 2, depending on how we see him perform this week. So I think it's a good tight end stash.
Yep. Fair enough. So last game, Bengals Jags. Bengals, Chase is still out there. It's going to be you just got to hope he does what Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams have been doing, like that's just the reality there. And Mixon, I guess. He's been kind of bad, I think, with Browning as well. I don't know. Where are you at with all these guys? Like, I think you're still starting Chase and Mixon.
Yeah, you're starting Chase no matter what. He hasn't been killing you. He definitely hasn't been Jamar Chase the last 2 weeks. But what he can do with even subpar quarterback play. Like, even think about how Burrow was playing at the beginning of this year, kind of a thing. So that not even that bad Joe Burrow was anywhere close to Jake Browning necessarily, but hopefully he'll get a couple more tip balls to catch like he did last week. I thought that was kind of funny. It's like, 2 of his catches were actually like tip balls that he ended up coming down with for like 30 yards or something.
Yeah, it was his big plays too.
Yeah, so I don't know, but that's just kind of the player he is. He's super athletic. He's super good. So yeah, you're definitely starting him. I know Higgins is back this week, right? Or they're saying he's
out.
Okay, so he's still limited. Oh, has he actually been ruled out?
Maybe not ruled out, but
okay,
I don't think he's going to play.
He's limited still. I think what I heard yesterday that he was likely to play or he wanted to play. I guess they all want to play, but I'll probably give him a week, even if he does play, before I start him. See how he slots in with Jake Browning. I'm not starting Tyler Boyd, and yes, Mixon is basically a must start. But you're not happy about it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and just to circle back on Higgins, I don't know if you can. It's Monday night games. I don't know if you can afford to just wait to see if he's going to play, and he's not even like, I want to play him, So,
yeah, he's a must bench. Then I think like I said, like I'm still like even if he was playing and we knew that for sure, I think you're still waiting a week just to see what's going on because we need some full practice reports in there to make sure that he's back.
Yeah, agreed. Mixon and Chase. That's it for the Bengals and the Jags. It's I'm fine with Lawrence back into the starting range. Still kind of like a low end. Yeah, he's like a mid quarterback one. Right there with I'd start him over Herbert this week and probably over Howell, Russell Wilson, and Brock Purdy or Trevor Lawrence. What would you do there?
Who's San Francisco playing again?
Eagles, who have not been good against the quarterbacks, really.
That's a little tough. Because I think I mentioned this before. It's I wonder how much they're going to rely on Trevor Lawrence to actually win this game. It really is going to depend heavily on Cincinnati. So I'll leave Brock Purdy there.
Okay. And then Ridley is back into must start. Christian Kirk, I think, is still start worthy. I mean, he has 2 of the last 3 games is double-digit points in half PPR, even though Ridley's been playing well. And Ingram is a start. ETN is a start, but he could be limited this week. Don't be surprised if he doesn't play as much because he has an injury. They're kind of talking about Dearness Johnson, who, by the way, is the handcuff to have, not Tank Bigsby. So I wouldn't be surprised if, especially if they're kind of winning handedly, you don't see much of ETN in the second half or fourth quarter. So I don't know how you bench him if he plays, but
no, I don't think you do. But yeah, again, probably going to be limited. We're kind of expecting Jacksonville to win this game. I think an important thing to know about rib injuries they're all about pain management. You get a broken rib, you can't do anything about it besides wear a flak jacket and get taped up and stuff like that. But it's there's nothing, you don't set a cast for a broken rib or anything like that. It's all just about how much pain tolerance you can take, and you don't want to get it further injured. So there is some limitations to a rib injury, but it's definitely not something where it affects the way you play from a mechanics standpoint, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. But again, they could be benching guys. I don't know. You're still starting ETN.
There's you're starting him.
Thing going on, although he hasn't been great since the bye. But Ingram, bet on him to get a touchdown. Easy money. It's gonna happen. What was it? What'd you say? Plus 300 or 290 or something?
Plus 290. Yeah, I think I can make player prop bets here in California too. So you just can't bet on the outcome of games. Some shit like that. We'll talk off the air. We'll see if I can actually make a bet.
Yeah, do it. That's it. That is it. Good luck in week 13. Hopefully you all win and lock up your playoff seed or spot at least. Hopefully week 13 is hopefully yesterday's game is kind of like a glimpse into what this week's going to be. So usually we get a lot of good football the last 2-3 weeks of the, weeks 13 to on are usually some good football weeks. So
I'd say a quarter of the teams in your league played against somebody from yesterday's game, and basically everyone was good. So at least a quarter, maybe even up to half, because there was enough to go around, kind of.
Even Brandon Cooks, right? Didn't he have a touchdown?
Yeah, he had a touchdown. So Cooks, Prescott, Lamb, Ferguson, Pollard on that side. So it's there's already 5 guys, plus Geno, Metcalf, And
JSN
Charbonnet
was
was okay, I think.
Charbonnet was good.
Yeah, JSN. Yeah, I know he got a touchdown, but I don't think he had a monster game. I don't know. Yeah, JSN still had more than double-digit half PPR points. So
He should have. I think he should have had that touchdown too, personally. But
yeah,
I know it kind of hit the ground, but like it didn't move a lot. And usually they kind of lean in those situations. I feel like usually they lean on what was called, and it just because you can let the ball touch the ground, it just can't like move too much. And I feel like it kind of touched the ground and just kind of stayed. I don't know. It was tough, but
yeah. I'm always I never know the rules about like when it touches the ground and stuff. Like
it's so dumb.
Yeah.
So like last week, Deontay Johnson had a touchdown and didn't complete the catch or whatever. But if that was just in the field, not in the end zone, that would have been a catch fumble. So it's like, all right, it's a catch fumble on the 50-yard line. How is that? As soon as you cross the goal line with the ball, you should be a touchdown. How is that not a touchdown? If it's a catch outside of it, I don't know. It's weird. Charbonnet had 99 total yards and a touchdown. So
yeah, I saw that. So
just one catch.
Yep. Which that's kind of shocking, but whatever.
Yeah. We'll finish up there. And as always, like and subscribe. We're going to be putting out some like dynasty scouting college guides. It's about that time of year. So excited for that. Look out for that. And we'll catch you guys next time.